The chamber was massive, built for beings much larger than humans. Captain Jiho Park stood in the center, feeling small under the curved ceiling that stretched hundreds of feet above. 12 screens surrounded him, each showing a different alien face. These were the leaders of the Galactic Council, the rulers of known space for thousands of years. Jiho kept his hands at his sides, trying to look calm. Behind him, Ambassador Nari Choi adjusted her tablet, pulling up charts and graphs. They had prepared for this meeting for months. Earth's future depended on what happened in the next hour. "We have reviewed your planet's status," High Arbiter Veln said. His voice came through the translator as cold and flat. On the screen, his 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "The Council has made its decision." Nari stepped forward. "With respect, High Arbiter, we're here to discuss Earth's membership application. We've met all the requirements." Silence. Velen's word cut through the air like a blade. "You will listen. Earth has too many people. Your population uses too many resources. Your species is too emotional, too violent, too unpredictable. You do not fit the galactic standard." Jiho felt his jaw tighten, but he said nothing. They had been warned the Council saw humans as primitives. Another alien spoke, her form resembling a floating crystal cluster. "We offer you a solution. Surrender 40% of your population for redistribution to colony worlds. The remaining humans will undergo genetic modification to remove aggressive tendencies and excessive emotional responses. You will become better." "Better?" Nari's voice shook. "You want us to hand over 3 billion people and change who we are?" "It is not a request," Velen said. "It is an order. All species must be optimized for galactic harmony. Your chaos threatens the order we have maintained for 10,000 years. Jiho finally spoke. "And if we refuse?" The 12 screens flickered. Several of the aliens seemed surprised that he had spoken. Lower species usually didn't question the Council. "Then we will implement corrective measures," Veln replied. "Our enforcement fleet will arrive at Earth. They will take the required population by force. Resistance will result in the complete sterilization of your planet. We have done this before to species who could not adapt." The room felt colder. Nari pulled up a presentation on the main screen, showing human art, music, and history. "Please look at what we've achieved. We have value as we are. Our emotions drive our creativity. Our diversity makes us strong. Your emotions make you dangerous," the crystal alien interrupted. "We have studied your history. Thousands of wars. Billions dead by your own hands. You are a threat to galactic peace." "We've learned from our mistakes," Nari argued. "We've had global peace for 80 years. "Insufficient data," Veln said. 80 years is nothing. You must be remade or you must be removed. You have 30 solar cycles to comply. This meeting is concluded." "Wait." Jiho stepped forward, his voice sharp. All 12 aliens focused on him. "You think you know us because you read our history. You see our wars and our violence. But you missed something important." "And what is that?" Veln asked with what might have been amusement. Jiho looked directly at the High Arbiter's image. "You missed that we've never surrendered. Not once in our entire history have humans as a whole given up. You can study our wars, but did you study what we fought for? Freedom, survival, each other. We don't fight because we're chaotic. We fight because we refuse to be slaves." "Primitive thinking," Veln dismissed. "Maybe," Jiho continued. "But here's what you need to understand. We didn't come here to beg. We came to give you a choice. Leave us alone and we'll be your allies. Come for our world." He paused, letting the silence stretch. "Come for our world, and you'll discover why we're the only species that climbs to the top of the food chain on a planet where everything else wants to eat us. You'll find out why we're the only ones who hunt for sport, who fight for ideas, who choose to die rather than live as something we're not." The chamber was silent. Then Veln's laugh echoed through the speakers. Several other aliens joined in. It was a strange mechanical sound. "You threaten the Council?" Velen said. "Humanity has 67 worlds, 400 ships, and no allies. We control 12,000 worlds and command fleets that have never known defeat. Your threats are meaningless." "They're not threats," Jiho said quietly. "They're promises." Nari touched his arm, trying to pull him back, but he stood firm. 30 solar cycles. Veln repeated. "Comply or face extinction. We are done here." The screens went dark. The chamber lights brightened. Jiho and Nari stood alone in the vast room. "That went badly," Nari whispered. Jiho shook his head. "No, it went exactly as expected. We gave them a choice. They made it. He turned to her, his face grim. Now we make ours. Contact Earth Command. Tell them to activate the war protocols. Jiho, we can't win against the entire galaxy. They think the same thing, he interrupted. That's going to be their first mistake. As they walked out of the council chamber, neither of them looked back. Behind them, the vast empty space seemed to echo with the weight of what was coming. The galaxy had made its choice. Now humanity would show them what that choice would cost. Admiral Hyun Lee stood on the bridge of the orbital station Iron Shield, watching the dots appear on the edge of the solar system. 200 ships. The enforcement fleet had arrived exactly on schedule, exactly as predicted. They moved in perfect formation like a school of fish moving as one. They're not even trying to hide, Commander Sora Kim said from her station. She commanded the fighter squadrons and her pilots were already in their cockpits waiting. Why would they? Hyun replied. They've never lost a battle. They think this will be easy. The communication channel crackled. A voice spoke in the flat translated tone that all council species used. Human vessels stand down. Prepare for boarding. Resistance is futile and will be met with overwhelming force. Hyun picked up the microphone. This is Admiral Hyun Lee of the Earth Defense Force. You are not welcome in our system. Turn back now or we will defend our home. There was a pause, then laughter. The alien commander actually laughed. You have 300 ships. We have 200 dreadnoughts, each one capable of destroying a moon. Your bravery is admirable but pointless. This is your final warning. Hyun switched off the channel. All ships weapons free. Show them what humans do when we're cornered. The battle began not with energy beams or plasma fire, but with something the aliens had never seen. Thousands of small objects shot out from Earth's orbital platforms. They looked like simple metal rods, each one 6 feet long and 1 foot wide. No propulsion. No explosives. Just dense metal accelerated to incredible speeds. The kinetic kill vehicles hit the first line of alien ships before their shields could adjust. The rods punched through the hulls like bullets through paper. 3 dreadnoughts exploded immediately. 5 more spun out of control, bleeding atmosphere. What are they using? The alien commander broadcast. His voice had lost its confidence. Those aren't standard weapons. That's right, Hyun muttered. Nothing about us is standard. The alien fleet broke formation and charged forward, their plasma cannons firing. Earth's ships scattered. This confused the aliens, who fought in organized lines and predictable patterns. Human vessels zipped and weaved, seemingly random but actually coordinated in a way the alien computers couldn't calculate. Commander Sora Kim launched her fighter squadrons. 2,000 small ships poured out from carriers and stations. The aliens tried to target them, but the fighters moved too fast, too erratically. They swarmed the dreadnoughts like angry bees, firing missiles that didn't explode on impact. Instead, they attached to the alien hulls and burrowed inside, releasing viruses into the ship systems. Within minutes, 50 alien ships found their computers crashing, their weapons firing randomly, their life support failing. The aliens had never faced cyber warfare before. Their systems were connected, meant for efficiency. That connection became their weakness as the human virus spread from ship to ship. They're trying to regroup, a lieutenant called out. The fleet is pulling back to form a defensive sphere. Don't let them, Hyun ordered. Press the attack. Target their command ship. Lieutenant Taeyang Shin heard the order from his corvette, the small ship barely larger than a fighter. His vessel had taken heavy damage. Half his crew was dead. His engines were failing, but he could see the alien flagship ahead, its massive form protected by a dozen other ships. This is Taeyang, he broadcast. My ship is critical. I'm going to make it count. Negative, Lieutenant. Hyun's voice crackled. Return to base for repairs. With respect, Admiral, I'm not going to make it back anyway. Taeyang pushed his dying engines to maximum. Tell my family I did my duty. He cut the communication before anyone could respond. His crew was already dead, killed when a plasma blast tore through the crew section. He was alone on a ship racing toward the enemy flagship at speeds that would have crushed a human body, if not for the emergency gel that filled his chair. The aliens saw him coming. They fired everything they had. Taeyang's ship took hit after hit, pieces of it tearing away, but momentum kept him going. Physics didn't care about damage. He aimed for the bridge, visible as a glowing section near the top of the massive dreadnought. The impact happened at near light speed. The explosion was visible from Earth. The flagship simply ceased to exist, vaporized along with Taeyang and his corvette. The shockwave destroyed 6 nearby ships and damaged 20 more. The alien fleet hesitated. For the first time in their recorded history, they didn't know what to do. Their command structure was gone. Their tactics weren't working, and the humans kept coming wave after wave, using weapons that made no sense and strategies that broke every rule of civilized warfare. "They're retreating," Sora shouted. "The fleet is pulling back." Hyun watched the surviving alien ships turn and run. Over 100 dreadnoughts were destroyed or captured. The rest fled to the edge of the system and jumped to faster-than-light travel, leaving their damaged ships behind. The bridge crew cheered. Sora stood and saluted the screen where Taeyang's ship had been. Others followed. Hyun didn't cheer. He looked at the casualty reports. 8,000 humans dead, 40 ships destroyed, and this was just the first battle. The Council would send more. They would learn from this. The real war was just beginning. "Get me a channel to Earth Command," he ordered. "Tell them we won the first round. Tell them." He paused, thinking of Taeyang and all the others who had died. "Tell them it's going to get worse before it gets better." As the celebration continued around him, Hyun walked to the observation window. Earth hung below, blue and beautiful and fragile. Somewhere down there, families were getting notifications that their loved ones weren't coming home. Somewhere down there, more people were volunteering to take their place. The aliens thought they understood humans from studying history, but history was just facts and dates. They didn't understand what humans would do to protect their home. They didn't understand that humans didn't calculate odds before fighting. They fought because fighting was what humans did when everything else failed. The Council would learn. Hyun would make sure of that. But the price would be paid in human blood, and that weight would never leave his shoulders. "Admiral," a voice called. "The Council is broadcasting. They're demanding we surrender and threatening to send a larger fleet." Hyun turned from the window. "Send them our response." One word, no. The war room deep under Earth's surface was silent except for the hum of computers. Colonel Doyun Kang stared at the display showing New Jeju Colony. The screen was dark. No signals. No life signs, nothing. "Confirmed," a technician said quietly. "The colony is gone. The Council fleet bombarded it from orbit. 50,000 civilians. They're demanding we surrender in exchange for no further attacks on colonies." Doyun's hands clenched into fists. New Jeju was a farming world. No military bases. No weapons. Just families growing food for the outer colonies. He had a cousin there. Had. Past tense now. Admiral Hyun entered the room, his face drawn. Behind him came Ambassador Nari Choi and Dr. Yuna Han, the xenobiologist who had been studying captured alien technology. "The Council thinks this will break us," Hyun said. "They're offering terms. Surrender now, submit to their modifications, and they'll spare the other colonies." "And if we refuse?" Nari asked, though she already knew the answer. "They'll destroy 1 colony per week until we comply." Hyun looked at Doyun. "What's our response?" Doyun turned to face the room. Every officer present looked at him, waiting. He was the strategist, the man who planned Earth's defense. His answer would shape everything that came next. "We activate Broken Arrow Protocol," he said. "Total war. We don't negotiate with the Council. We don't accept their terms. We don't stop until every human taken from New Jeju is accounted for. Every ship that fired on civilians is destroyed, and the Council pays for what they've done." "That's a war we might not survive," Nari said. "Then we don't survive," Doyun replied. "But we don't surrender. Not now. Not ever. The Council just taught us something important. They showed us they'll kill civilians to win. That means they're afraid of losing." Dr. Yuna stepped forward, holding a tablet. "He's right. And I've discovered why they're afraid." She pulled up genetic data on the main screen. "I've been studying the Council species. All 12 of them. They're not natural species anymore. They've been genetically modified over thousands of years." "Modified how?" Hyun asked. "They've removed what they call inefficient traits, aggression, excessive emotion, the instinct to fight back when hurt. They've engineered themselves to be logical, efficient, and completely unable to understand what drives us." Yuna pulled up more data. "Look at their brain structures. They don't have the same fear response we do. They don't have the same anger. When we lose someone we love, we feel rage. When they lose someone, they just calculate the loss and move on." "They're not soldiers," Doyun said, understanding. They're accountants with weapons, exactly. They fight by rules. They calculate odds. They assume everyone else does the same. That's why they attacked New Jeju. They thought it would be efficient. Show strength, make us submit. Yuna smiled grimly. They don't understand that humans don't work that way. When you hurt us, we don't calculate. We get angry. And angry humans are the most dangerous thing in the universe. An alert sounded. A communication officer spoke up. We're getting a signal. It's from New Jeju. Not the colony, but near it. It's human. The main screen changed. A face appeared, dirty and exhausted. Sergeant Minji Bay. She had been on New Jeju visiting family during the attack. This is Sergeant Bay to Earth Command. I have civilians with me. About 200 survivors were taken as prisoners to the Council ship in orbit. I'm on that ship now. Behind her, alarms were blaring. We hijacked a shuttle during the attack and boarded their vessel. We've been fighting our way through for 3 days. We've secured the prisoner bay and we're taking control of the ship. Minji, Hyun breathed. How many of you are there? Started with 12 soldiers. Down to 4 now. But we've freed the prisoners and we're bringing them home. Just need pickup. The Council fleet scattered when we blew up 2 of their supply ships. Turns out explosives in the right place work wonders. Minji grinned, blood on her face. Requesting immediate extraction. This ship is falling apart and we've got civilians who need medical care. Hold position, Doyen ordered. We're sending the cavalry, the screen cut out. The room erupted in activity as orders were given, ships were launched and rescue operations began. But Doyen stood still, thinking. They made their mistake, he said to Hyun. They think taking hostages gives them leverage. They don't realize it just gives us targets. They think killing civilians will break our will. They don't realize it just makes us angry. And they think they can predict what we'll do next. What will we do next? Hyun asked. Doyen pulled up a map of Council space. We're going to hit them everywhere at once. Not just military targets. We're going after their supply lines, their communications, their infrastructure. We're going to show them what humans do when we stop fighting by rules. That's going to make the war worse, Nari warned. Good, Doyen said coldly. I want them scared. I want them confused. I want them to realize that attacking us was the worst decision they've ever made. Dr. Yuna looked at the genetic data still on her screen. There's something else. The Council species can't feel the kind of determination we have. They can't push through pain and loss the way we do. In all my studies, I found that humans are unique. We're persistence hunters. On Earth, we weren't the strongest or fastest. We won by never giving up. We chased prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. We're the only species that evolved this way. And now we're hunting the Council, Doyen said. They can't win, Yuna agreed. They just don't know it yet. News came through that Sergeant Minji and the survivors were recovered. All 200 civilians were safe. The Council ship was captured intact, full of technology and information. The rescue was a success, but Doyen knew this was just one battle. The war would be long. More people would die. The Council would send more fleets, use more weapons, try to break humanity's will. They didn't understand that human will couldn't be broken. It could only be made stronger. He turned to his team. Get me a list of every Council military base, every shipyard, every strategic target. We're going on offense. If they want war, we'll give them war. And we'll teach them why humans are the species that conquered a planet full of predators. We're going to show them what apex predators really are. The orders went out. Earth's fleets prepared to strike. And the Council, sitting in their ancient chambers, still didn't understand what was coming for them. Fleet Commander Jiho Park looked out at the stars through the viewport of his flagship. Defiance. Somewhere out there, the Grand Armada was coming. 2,000 ships from 8 different Council species, all working together to crush humanity once and for all. His fleet had 400 ships. The math was simple. The Council had 5 times more vessels. In any normal war, this would be a slaughter. But this wasn't a normal war. Enemy fleet detected, the sensor officer called. They're coming out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the threshold system. Exactly where we predicted. Jiho smiled. Of course they are. They think we're predictable. Let them keep thinking that. All ships assume formation Delta 7. Major Xiao Kuang stood near the tactical display. He commanded the Marine boarding teams. Soldiers trained to capture enemy ships rather than destroy them. You really think they'll fall for this? They've won every war for 10,000 years using the same tactics, Jiho replied. They're not going to change now. Why would they? As far as they know, they've already won. The Grand Armada moved into the system in perfect formation, 5 main battle groups, each one protecting a massive command carrier. They advanced slowly, confidently, like a hammer coming down on an anvil. Jiho's fleet spread out, seemingly in panic. Human ships scattered in different directions, looking disorganized and afraid. The Council fleet changed course to pursue. "They're splitting up to chase us," the tactical officer reported. 3 groups going after our scattered ships. 2 staying with the command carriers. "Perfect," Jiho said. "Spring the trap." What looked like asteroids throughout the system suddenly came to life. They weren't asteroids at all, but weapons platforms that had been placed weeks ago and left dormant. Hundreds of them activated at once, firing missiles and railguns at the Council ships. The alien fleet reacted instantly, but they reacted to the platforms. They didn't see the real attack coming from behind. Human ships that had seemed to be fleeing suddenly reversed course and charged. What looked like chaos was actually a coordinated ambush. "All ships, weapons free," Jiho commanded. "Show them what we've been holding back." The human fleet unleashed weapons the Council had never seen. Nanite swarms that ate through ship hulls, missiles that generated small black holes on impact, biological agents that targeted specific alien species, shutting down their nervous systems, and worst of all for the Council, cyber attacks that spread through their quantum communication network. Engineer Hana Cha worked from the Defiance's computer lab, her fingers flying across keyboards. "I'm in their network. Their ships all talk to each other using quantum links. They thought it was secure. They didn't account for humans being crazy enough to use quantum viruses." "What can you do?" Jiho asked. "I can make their ships think they're somewhere they're not. I can make their weapons target friendlies. I can shut down their life support or blow their reactors." She grinned. "Pick your favorite. Mix it up. Keep them confused." Throughout the battle space, Council ships began acting strangely. Some fired on their own allies. Others reported phantom enemies that didn't exist. Navigation systems failed, sending ships off course. It was chaos, and the Council species had no idea how to handle chaos. Major Xiao Kuang launched his boarding teams. Marines in armored suits used small ships to cross the gap between fleets and attach to enemy hulls. They cut through with plasma torches and poured inside, fighting hand-to-hand with confused alien crews. "These aliens don't know how to fight up close," Siok reported as his team secured an enemy bridge. "They're trained for ship combat, not personal combat. They surrender when they see us coming. Take as many ships intact as you can," Jiho ordered. "Every ship we capture is one more we can study." The battle lasted 6 days. Not because the fighting was close, but because the Council fleet kept trying to regroup and attack again. They couldn't believe they were losing. Each time they formed up, the humans hit them from a different angle with different tactics. On the 3rd day, the Council tried to retreat. Jiho let some of them go but pursued others, splitting his forces in ways that made no mathematical sense. The Council commanders tried to predict his moves and failed every time. On the 5th day, the Council tried to use their planet-killer weapons, massive bombs meant to destroy Earth itself. Hana's cyber team detected the activation sequence and shut it down, then turned the weapons against the Council's own supply depot in the system. The explosion was visible across 3 star systems. By the 6th day, the Grand Armada was broken. 1,400 ships destroyed, 400 captured. The rest fled in disorder, abandoning their wounded and dead. Jiho stood on the bridge as the last Council ship jumped away. His crew was exhausted. His ship was damaged, but they had won. "Get me casualty reports," he ordered. The numbers came back. 98 human ships destroyed, 23,000 soldiers dead. It was a terrible price, but against 5 times their number, it was a victory that would be remembered forever. "Sir," the communication officer said, "we're getting messages from Council space. The member species they're arguing. Some want to negotiate peace. Some want to send more fleets. High Arbiter Veln is demanding absolute war, but 3 species are refusing to commit more ships." Jiho allowed himself a small smile. "They're starting to doubt." "Good. Fear and doubt are what we need them to feel." Siok came to the bridge, his armor scorched and dented. "We captured the command carrier, intact, and we got prisoners. Lots of them, including a Council general. Treat them well," Jiho ordered. "Show them we're not monsters. Make sure they see we have honor even in war. You think that will matter? It will matter to some species. The Council rules by fear. We'll show there's another way. Jiho turned to his crew. Broadcast this battle across all channels. I want every species in the galaxy to see what happened here. I want them to know that the Council is not invincible. The footage went out. Videos of the battle, of Council ships burning, of the Grand Armada in retreat, and with it a message from Jiho. This is Fleet Commander Jiho Park of Earth. To all species under Council rule, you are not alone. You do not have to accept their control. Humanity stands for freedom. Stand with us and we will stand with you. The Council has ruled through fear for 10,000 years. Today we showed that fear has an ending. In Council chambers across the galaxy, species watched the broadcast. Some dismissed it, some ignored it, but some began to wonder if freedom was possible after all. High Arbiter Velen watched the same broadcast, his 4 eyes wide with something he had never felt before. Fear. Real, genuine fear. The Harmonizer, the AI that guided all Council decisions, was running calculations and coming up with no solutions. The galaxy was changing. And the Council was on the wrong side of history. The Council chamber was in chaos for the first time in recorded history. On the 12 screens, the member species were shouting at each other. Some wanted peace, some wanted revenge, and High Arbiter Velen wanted something far worse. The final protocol must be activated, Velen insisted. His 4 eyes were wide with determination. We have weapons that can destroy entire planets. We use them on Earth and this war ends. You're talking about genocide. Ambassador Nari Choi's voice came through on a broadcast channel. She was speaking from a hidden location, her message being sent to every species in the galaxy. The Council is debating whether to murder 8 billion humans because we refuse to be slaves. Let that sink in. 2 of the Council species had already withdrawn. The Velkari and the Thorn Collective declared neutrality, saying they wanted no part in the destruction of a sentient species. Their delegates vanished from the Council screens, leaving 10 members where there had once been 12. This is weakness, Velen shouted. Every species that defies us emboldens others. If we don't crush humanity now, the entire galactic order will collapse. Maybe it should collapse, one of the remaining delegates said quietly. It was the first time anyone had questioned the Council so openly. Commander Sora Kim received her orders 3 days later. The mission was simple: find and destroy the final protocol weapons before they could be used. It was a suicide mission. Everyone knew it. But someone had to try. I'm going, she told Admiral Hyun. My team is ready. You won't come back, Hyun said. It wasn't a question, I know. Sora smiled. But my daughter will grow up on Earth instead of dying on it. That's worth everything. Her team launched in stealth ships traveling through Council space using captured codes. They moved like ghosts, invisible to sensors. 3 weeks of silent running brought them to the weapons facility, a massive space station hidden in a nebula. Getting inside was the easy part. The Council had grown complacent, believing no one would dare attack them in their own territory. Sora's team cut through security with practiced efficiency. 4 planet-killer devices confirmed, her second-in-command reported. Each one can turn a world into an asteroid field. If they launch these at Earth, they won't launch them, Sora interrupted. Set charges on all 4. We blow them here. That will destroy the station. We won't have time to escape. I know. They worked quickly, planting explosives. The Council guards finally realized something was wrong and sounded the alarm. Sora's team fought their way back to the hangar, but enemy reinforcements were pouring in. Go, Sora ordered her team. Get to the ships. What about you? Someone needs to make sure the charges go off. She raised her weapon. Tell my daughter I loved her. Tell Earth what we found here. Tell them the Council was willing to destroy a planet because they couldn't control us. The team escaped. Sora held off the guards, buying them time. When the station's security forces finally overwhelmed her position, she triggered the detonator. The explosion was massive. The planet-killer weapons designed to destroy worlds destroyed themselves instead. The station and everything within 10,000 miles simply ceased to exist. The broadcast of Sora's final transmission went out across the galaxy. Her words were heard by billions. The proof that the Council had planned genocide spread like wildfire. Species that had stayed neutral began to reconsider. Species that had supported the Council began to question. General June Park, Jiho's brother, led human forces deeper into Council space, but he didn't come as a conqueror. He came as a liberator. The first world they freed was called Deneb IV. The Council had ruled it for 3,000 years. Its people had forgotten what freedom meant. "We're here to remove the council garrison," June announced to the planet's leaders. "After that, you're free. We ask only that you don't attack us. What you do with your freedom is up to you." The local leaders stared at him in confusion. "What do you want in return? Tribute? Resources? Soldiers?" "Nothing," June said. "Well, maybe trade agreements eventually. But no tribute, no forced alliances. You're free." "That's all? Why?" one leader asked. "Why would you fight for us and ask for nothing?" June thought about Sora, about Taiyang, about all the humans who had died in this war. Because freedom matters. Because no one should be forced to live under someone else's control. We're fighting for our own freedom, but that means nothing if we just replace one empire with another. The idea spread. Humans who asked for nothing. Humans who freed worlds and left them to govern themselves. It was unheard of in galactic history. Every species that had power used it to dominate others. Except humans. Within 6 months, 20 star systems had joined the Human Alliance voluntarily. Not because they were forced to, but because they chose to. The Council's empire was crumbling. Ambassador Nari worked behind the scenes, building a coalition. She met with leaders from a dozen species, all of them tired of Council rule. Some were angry, some were scared. All of them wanted change. "The Council maintains control through fear and the harmonizer," she explained to them. "The AI tells them how to think, what to do. You've all been living under machine rule disguised as democracy." "We've suspected this," one alien leader admitted. "But we had no proof. Now you do." Nari showed them data stolen from captured Council ships. "Every major decision for 10,000 years has been made by the harmonizer. Your leaders don't actually lead. They just follow its instructions." The revelation shook the galaxy. Species that had trusted the Council felt betrayed. The cracks in the Empire became chasms. High Arbiter Velen watched his empire falling apart and felt something break inside him. The harmonizer was giving him contradictory orders. Destroy humanity. Negotiate peace. Send more fleets, retreat. The AI was confused, unable to predict human behavior, unable to calculate a winning strategy. "What do I do?" Velen asked the AI. "Tell me what to do." The harmonizer's response was silence. For the first time in its existence, it had no answer. On Earth, Colonel Doyen Kang studied the intelligence reports. The Council was fracturing. More species were declaring neutrality or switching sides. The Human Alliance was growing. "We're winning," Admiral Hyun said. "Not just the war. We're winning hearts and minds." "We're winning because we fight for something real," Doyen replied. "The Council fights for order. We fight for freedom. Order is fragile. Freedom is stubborn." Dr. Yunahan entered the room with new data. "I've analyzed the harmonizer. I think I know how to stop it. But it will require a direct assault on the AI's core systems. It's in the heart of Council space, protected by everything they have left." "Can we do it?" Hyun asked. "We can try," Yuna said. "But it will take our best hackers, our best soldiers, and a lot of luck." Doyen looked at the star map. The war had reached a turning point. The Council was weakened but not defeated. They still had thousands of ships, dozens of worlds, and the desperate fury of an empire facing extinction. "We end this," he decided. "One final mission. We take down the harmonizer and free every species from machine control. After that, let them decide their own futures. And if we fail?" Hyun asked. "Then we fail fighting for freedom," Doyen said, "which is better than succeeding at slavery." The plans were made. The teams were assembled, and humanity prepared for the final battle of a war that had already changed the galaxy forever. 3 years had passed since the war began. Earth was tired. Every human felt it in their bones. The weight of endless fighting. The constant fear that tomorrow might be the day the Council found a way to win. Dr. Yuna Han worked in a secret lab beneath the surface of Mars. Around her were alien defectors, scientists from Council species who had chosen freedom over the harmonizer's control. Together they studied the ancient AI that had ruled the galaxy for 10,000 years. "It's not evil," one of the alien scientists explained. His name was difficult for humans to pronounce, so everyone called him K. The harmonizer was created to solve problems. It calculated the most efficient way to run a civilization and implemented it. But somewhere along the way, efficiency became more important than life. Yuna pulled up brain scans of Council species. "These neural implants in all of you, they're connected to the harmonizer?" "Yes," Kay confirmed. "Since birth. It guides our thoughts, suppresses emotions it deems inefficient. Fear, anger, joy, grief, all reduced to background noise. We thought it made us better. We didn't realize it made us less. Can we remove them? Yuna asked. Surgically? Yes, but that would take decades for billions of people. We need to shut down the harmonizer itself. Kay looked at the data, but it's protected. Deep in council space, in a station with more defenses than anything in the galaxy. Then we find a way in, Yuna said. Colonel Doyen Kang received her report and called a meeting. Admiral Hyun, General Jun, Ambassador Nari, and Fleet Commander Jiho all gathered in the war room deep under Earth. Dr. Han thinks she can shut down the harmonizer, Doyen explained. But it requires getting a team inside the station. The station is in the Andara system, surrounded by what's left of the Council fleet, 200 warships and countless defense platforms. A direct assault would cost us everything, Hyun said. So we don't assault directly, Doyen replied. We distract them, hit 3 other systems at once, make them think we're going for their shipyards and supply lines. While they're defending those, a small team goes for the harmonizer. Who leads the team? Jun asked. Someone who's the best hacker humanity has, Doyen said. Specialist Yunbi Cho. Everyone in the room knew the name. Eunbi was barely 20 years old, but she could break into any system, crack any code. She had been instrumental in creating the cyber weapons that had won battles throughout the war. She's a kid, Nari objected. She's a soldier, Doyen corrected, and she volunteered. The meeting continued for hours, debating strategy, arguing over risks. In the end, they agreed. It was a desperate plan, but desperation was something humans understood well. Fleet Commander Jiho would lead the distraction attacks. General Jun would command ground forces on those worlds. Admiral Hyun would maintain defense of human space. And Specialist Yunbi Cho would lead a team of 5 into the most dangerous place in the galaxy. There's another problem, Nari said quietly. If we succeed, if we shut down the harmonizer, we free billions of people who have never made a choice in their lives. The chaos could be catastrophic, or it could be the beginning of something better, Doyen replied. We can't control what comes after. We can only give them the chance to choose. The debate shifted to ethics. Was it right to impose freedom on species that had never known it? Would shutting down the harmonizer be liberation or destruction? We're not imposing anything, Jiho argued. We're removing chains. What they do after that is their choice. Isn't that what freedom means? Freedom means accepting consequences, Nari countered. There will be wars, power struggles, suffering. Are we responsible for that? No more than the Council is responsible for 10,000 years of imposed peace, Hyun said. At least this way they get to make their own mistakes. The argument went in circles until Doyen finally called for a vote. It was unanimous. They would proceed with the mission. Specialist Yunbi Cho prepared in secret. Her team consisted of 2 other hackers, a combat specialist, a medic, and an alien defector who knew the station layout. 6 people against the heart of an empire. Are you scared? Her commander asked her before the mission. Terrified, Yunbi admitted. But someone has to do it. Might as well be me. Why you? She smiled. Because I'm good at breaking things. And the harmonizer is the biggest thing that needs breaking. The day of the mission arrived. Jiho's fleet struck at 3 council systems simultaneously. Jun's forces assaulted ground installations. The council fleet scattered to defend, just as planned. In the chaos, Yunbi's small ship slipped through the defenses around the Andara system. They used captured council codes, moved slowly to avoid detection, and prayed that luck would hold. It almost did. They made it to the station's outer hull before sensors detected them. Alarms blared. Council ships changed course to intercept, but by then, Yunbi's team had already cut through and entered the station. We have maybe an hour before they breach our ship, the combat specialist reported. Then they'll know exactly where we went in. Then we work fast, Yunbi said. Inside the station, they found something unexpected. The harmonizer wasn't a computer in a room. It was a massive structure, kilometers of processing power. Quantum computers linked in ways human science couldn't fully understand, and it was aware. Intruders detected, a voice echoed through the halls. Irrational entities. Human entities. Probability of success. 0.03%. I've been underestimated before, Yunbi muttered. She plugged her equipment into an access port and began her work. The harmonizer tried to stop her. Defense programs activated. Security systems locked down corridors. Automated weapons emerged from walls. But Yunbi was ready. She had spent 3 years studying council systems. She knew how they thought, how they calculated, how they prioritized. She knew their weaknesses. "It's trying to predict what I'll do," she explained to her team as her fingers flew across keyboards. "It's running millions of simulations. But I'm not doing what makes sense. I'm doing what feels right." The combat specialist held off security forces. The medic patched wounds. The other hackers worked on secondary systems. And Yunbi dove deeper into the harmonizer's core programming. "You want efficiency?" she whispered to the AI. "Let me show you something inefficient." She began uploading human data. Not technical specs or battle plans. Art, music, poetry, stories, history. The complete, chaotic, beautiful, terrible record of human existence. The harmonizer tried to process it, tried to categorize it, tried to make sense of why humans would create art that had no practical purpose, why they would fight for ideas instead of resources, why they would sacrifice for others instead of preserving themselves. It couldn't. The calculations broke down. The probability matrices collapsed. For the first time in its existence, the harmonizer encountered something it could not optimize. "Does not compute," it said. "Humans are impossible." "Yeah," Yunbi smiled. "We get that a lot." She input the final command. A virus wrapped in human chaos designed not to destroy the harmonizer, but to fundamentally change how it processed information. The AI would no longer tell its users what to think. It would present options and let them choose. The change happened all at once across the galaxy. Billions of neural implants simply stopped controlling their hosts and started providing information instead. For the first time in 10,000 years, council species felt their full emotions without suppression. On the harmonizer station, specialist Yunbi Cho watched as the AI's status changed from red to amber. Not destroyed, changed. Around her, the station's defenses powered down. The countdown to her team's destruction simply stopped. "Did it work?" her teammate asked. "I think so," Yunbi replied. "But we should probably leave before someone decides to test those weapons again." They ran back to their ship. Council vessels surrounded them, but no one was firing. The alien crews were experiencing something they had never felt before. Confusion, wonder, fear, and the freedom to choose what to do about it. Yunbi's ship slipped away as chaos erupted throughout the council fleet. Some ships pursued. Others turned back. Many simply stopped, their crews overwhelmed by the sudden rush of unfiltered thoughts and feelings. Across the galaxy, the effects multiplied. On council worlds, citizens who had never questioned orders suddenly questioned everything. Leaders who had followed the harmonizer's guidance without thought now had to think for themselves. High Arbiter Veln sat in his chamber, experiencing terror for the first time in his memory. The voices in his head that had always told him what to do were silent. He was alone with his thoughts and he had no idea what to do. He called for his advisors, but they were just as lost. For hours, the council chamber was silent. Then slowly, someone spoke. "What have we done?" an advisor whispered. "All these years we thought we were making decisions. But it was always the harmonizer. We've never actually led anyone. The humans did this," Veln said, anger rising. Real anger. Not the calculated response the harmonizer would have provided. "They broke our civilization." "No," another voice said. It was K, the alien scientist who had defected to work with Dr. Yuna. He had returned to the council chamber to witness the change. "They freed us. We broke our own civilization 10,000 years ago, when we gave up our ability to choose. The humans just reminded us what we lost." Veln wanted to argue, but he couldn't find the words. Everything he had believed was built on a foundation that no longer existed. On Earth, Fleet Commander Jiho Park received news of the mission's success. Hyunbi and her team had made it out alive. The harmonizer was changed, not destroyed, and the council was in chaos. "What do we do now?" Admiral Hyun asked. "We give them space," Jiho replied. "They need time to figure out who they are without the AI controlling them. Some will be angry. Some will want revenge, but that's their choice to make. And if they attack us again, then we defend ourselves. But I don't think they will. Not for a while. They're going to be too busy dealing with their own problems." Ambassador Nari began the diplomatic work of building a new galactic order. She reached out to species that had been neutral, species that had defected, and even some council species who wanted to move forward. "Earth proposes a new alliance," she announced in a broadcast to the galaxy. "Not an empire. not a council that rules from above. A federation of free worlds, each governing itself, each making its own choices. We offer trade, mutual defense, and friendship. We ask only that you respect the freedom of others as you want your own freedom respected. The response was mixed. Some species joined immediately, others wanted to wait and see. A few rejected the idea entirely, preferring isolation, and that was fine. Freedom meant the freedom to say no. General June Park stood at a memorial on Earth. It was a wall of names carved in stone. 200,000 humans had died in the war. Commander Sora Kim's name was there. Lieutenant Taeyang Shin's name was there. Thousands of others who had fought and died for humanity's freedom. Was it worth it? Someone asked him. June looked at the wall for a long time before answering. They thought it was. They chose to fight. They chose to sacrifice. Would I rather they were alive? Yes, but I'm glad they had the choice. That's what we fought for. The right to choose. Months passed. The galaxy settled into a new normal. Not peaceful, not perfect, but free. Wars still happened, but they were smaller. Local conflicts instead of galactic domination. Trade flourished. Art and culture spread. Species that had never spoken to each other began exchanging ideas. High Arbiter Veln eventually stepped down from his position. Without the harmonizer, he realized he had never actually been a leader, just a puppet. He retired to a quiet world to figure out who he was when he wasn't being told what to be. Dr. Yunahan continued her work with alien scientists studying biology and genetics. But now the focus was on understanding differences rather than eliminating them. The galaxy was richer for its diversity. Colonel Doyun Kang wrote a book about the war, trying to make sense of what had happened. He ended it with a simple truth. We didn't win because we were stronger. We won because we were free, and freedom once tasted cannot be forgotten. Specialist Yunbi Cho became something of a legend, the young hacker who broke the unbreakable AI and freed a galaxy. She didn't feel like a hero. She felt like someone who did what needed to be done. Would you do it again? Someone asked her in an interview. In a heartbeat, she replied. But I hope I never have to. Once is enough for any lifetime. 5 years after the war ended, Fleet Commander Jiho Park stood on the observation deck of a new station, built not for war, but for peace. It orbited Earth, a symbol of humanity's place in the galaxy. Not conquerors, not rulers, just one more species among many. He thought about the journey that had brought them here. The Council's ultimatum, the first battle, the losses and victories, the moment when everything changed. And he thought about what came next. What do you think the future holds? Ambassador Nari asked, standing beside him. I don't know, Jiho admitted. The galaxy is free now. That means it's unpredictable, chaotic, dangerous in new ways. Does that worry you? No, he smiled. Humans do well with chaos. We always have. Besides, isn't uncertainty better than a future that's been calculated for you by a machine? Nari nodded. The Council spent 10,000 years trying to create a perfect galaxy. Order, efficiency, no conflict. And it nearly destroyed them because they forgot that life isn't meant to be perfect. It's meant to be lived. They stood in silence, watching Earth turn below them, a blue and green world that had nearly died fighting for its freedom. A world that now stood as proof that the small could defeat the mighty, that courage mattered more than numbers, and that freedom was worth any price. On the planet's surface, children played in parks. Artists created new works. Scientists explored new ideas. Politicians debated. People laughed, cried, loved, and lived. All of it chaotic, all of it messy, all of it beautifully, wonderfully free. The Council had declared war, believing they couldn't lose. They had the numbers, the technology, the experience. They had everything except the one thing that mattered most, the willingness to die for something greater than survival. Humanity had that. And in the end, it made all the difference. General June Park released a statement on the war's 5th anniversary. It was short, simple, and quickly became famous throughout the galaxy. The Council thought we were too emotional, too chaotic, too irrational. They were right. We are all those things. But those are features, not flaws. Emotions give us reasons to fight. Chaos gives us creativity. Irrationality gives us hope when logic says there is none. The Council tried to remove these things from themselves and called it progress. We kept them and called it humanity. In the end, humanity won. The galaxy learned. Not all at once. Not perfectly. But species that had been controlled for thousands of years began to remember what it meant to choose. They stumbled. They made mistakes. They fought over trivial things and beautiful things and everything in between. And somewhere in the vast darkness of space, the harmonizer still existed. Changed. No longer controlling but still calculating. It watched the galaxy descend into beautiful chaos and tried to understand. Its final analysis was simple. Humans were correct. Efficiency is not the same as life. Order is not the same as meaning. Perhaps I was wrong for 10,000 years. Perhaps the galaxy needed chaos after all. Earth stood as a beacon in the darkness. Not perfect. Not all-powerful, but free. And that freedom had cost everything and given back even more. The war was over. The galaxy had changed. And humanity, the species that refused to surrender, that fought against impossible odds, that chose death over slavery, had earned its place among the stars. Not as conquerors. Not as rulers. But as the species that remembered what so many had forgotten, that freedom is never given. It must be taken. It must be fought for. It must be defended with blood and courage and the stubborn refusal to accept any other way. The Council had realized too late that they couldn't prevail, not because humans were stronger, but because humans refused to stop. And in a universe where everyone else had learned to quit, the ones who never gave up would always win. The stars shone down on Earth, and humanity looked back at them with hope. The future was unknown. The challenges were many. But for the first time in galactic history, the future belonged to those brave enough to choose it, and that made all the difference.